The Telos Boltace will cost 125,000 standing from Arbiters of Hexis. It's Mastery rank 8, and, well, it's the perk to this that's made me look at this and think to myself, maybe the curse of the Telos weapons sucking might actually be over. As you can see, they've slashed 4.3. Yeah, pun intended. Not intended even. From the slash, and they've basically given it to puncture, which is, that's not actually right. No, that is right. 4.3. And impact exactly the same. So damage wise, it's actually the same, it just does a little bit more puncture. That's about it. It does 5% extra crit, it's got 25% status, and it's got a 2 times multiplier instead of a 1.5. But it also has a 1.08 attack speed, which is much better than the 0.917 it used to have. Meaning the Telos Boltace could actually be insanely useful. It also comes with a dash for those elemental combos, and a V aura, meaning that you can basically only throw on Gemini Cross, which I think is the only stance for these actual weapons. And the ability these things have basically just says push the limits of Tenno lethality with violent spinning attacks that damage all enemies in range. That's what's drawn me to these things, because I've seen them in use and I couldn't believe this was actually a thing. When it comes to the build for this weapon, we'll start there. Prime Pressure Point and Primed Reach will be your best friends. Topping that off with Body Count, Blood Rush, Maiming Strike if you have it, because of its increased thing to slide at crit chance, which unfortunately I don't, hence not showing this. Probably go for the full 90% status mods in whatever order you want them, so that does leave one slot for you to do whatever you really want with, but for this I would go 2 Vs and a dash, meaning that you've got 2 Vs and 2 dashes. The 2 Vs for Prime Pressure Point, Prime Reach and Blood Rush are all 14-point mods. The 2 dashes, however, solely for the elemental stuff. And the main reason for a build like that is Body Count increases the combo by 12 seconds. Blood Rush adds plus 65% crit chance. You could put True Steel on this if you wanted, though that's kind of why I've got an empty slot, because I haven't decided on what to do yet. Maiming Strike is slide attack has plus 90% chance to be a crit hit, which topped with 165% crit chance from Blood Rush, and of course Body Counter kind of building up the combo there, so Blood Rush kicks in. This thing's actually really effective. That, and when you actually do slide is when the how was it worded on the weapon? It was something silly like push the limits of Tenno lethality with violent spinning attacks. That is what this thing is. This weapon is the return of coptering, because the whole violent spinning attack which damages enemies in range is from spinning attacks, which have increased crit chance. So I've heard and so I've read. But that's not the main reason that this thing is good and why Maiming Strike is good. It's a combination of a lot of different things. Like when you actually copter, the 25% status is pretty meaningless because it's supposed to have much higher chance, which is why in a lot of videos you'll see us sliding into enemies with melee weapons. I'm just addicted to doing that because it just seems to do more damage. So this kind of weapon really does suit the way that I play with melee weapons, because I do slide into them a lot. The coptering effect is gone, doesn't mean you've got to stop doing it though. This, wow, I was actually kind of amazed, because I spent the first few games trying to figure out what the hell the lethal thing was, and it's when you slide, it basically does like a slash damage burst to things around you. That is why Primed Reach works really well in this, though I think it's a 10 meter range. Primed Reach takes it up to 20 something, I think. Once you realise that it's basically coptering that is this unleashed violent spinning attack that damages enemies, and that the primed reach increases the range. I wish I could remember 20 watt. It's low 20s, especially considering mine isn't maxed. I need to get round to doing that. This thing actually became fairly useful, but building up the crit counter, or the combo counter, can be slightly problematic, depending on what kind of mission you take this on. Obviously missions where there are lots of enemies, they're going to be better. Defense missions, interception missions where you know they're going to be going to one basic place. Definitely a huge improvement over the normal Boltace. Like, massively. I actually enjoyed using this a lot more than I would really like to admit. Like the original Boltace, this was just, I don't know, there was something better. I think it's just the fact that I haven't used coptering in so long that doing it, and the slash attack thing actually, I think it procs slash to surrounding people within that range, actually made this really fun to use.